YeahThisMilk starring.
Sabreen Jolley. Hey, Mother Shangay, do you remember the whisper, soft and subtle, quiet even, but loud enough for me to hear you say, I used to live in the world, really be in the world, free and sweet talking, good morning and thank you and nice day. I can't no more. I can't be nice to nobody. Nice is such a ripoff. Regular beauty and a smile in the street is such a setup. And as I reflected on your earnest reminder dedicated to colored girls like me who have considered suicide when the rainbow was enough, I was reminded to live, to thrive even, and boldly and loudly enough to remind myself and others that this pussy ain't free. Why would it be? After all, it has been drenched in drudgery, backstroking in a sea of confused phalluses that have lost their way amidst the waves and somehow settled on the shores of my preciousness. Do you really believe that this temple comes without cost? Hey, Mother Shangay, thank you for awakening my ode to self-worth. Mother, I forgot that the rainbow only appears after the rain, and no matter how desolate lands become because of it, I will dance in it because I know that soon after it will reveal my beautiful story in red, orange, yellow, green, blue, indigo, and violet. Ooh, this pussy ain't free. It is the giver of life, the home of land dwellers, the reason for war, the cause of peace. It holds secrets. Big, fat, black, and strong secrets, and even the not-so-good secrets. It turns genital mucus into presidents and mayors and artists. Hell no, this shit ain't free. You got to work for it. After a long day's work, this pussy needs a cocktail and a cigarette, because sometimes she gets stressed. She forgot who she was, but now she knows who she is. She went from mopping the floors to owning the biz to employing the world. She is the giver and the taker, the potter and the wheel, the hells and the heavens. She only runs on 93. Fuck 87. This ain't Chevy unleaded. This is premium. This is Ferrari pussy. It writes your checks. It cooks your meals. It puts life in your body. I'm sorry if I sent the wrong message, but Mother Shangay, thank you for your message. It was a soft and subtle yet bold and loud reminder that the permission of this temple doesn't come without toil.
That's mean.
That's me.
Where were you? Tell us about where you was raised and how were you raised, and just make us feel like we were you.
Okay, so I was born in Pasadena, California. Should I be looking at you?
No,
Okay, cool.
Good.
I was born in Pasadena, California. All right, that's about 25 minutes from LA, so that is Los Angeles County. I later moved to Pine Bluff, Arkansas, where I was technically raised, right? And I think that was the place that really shaped my entire personality. So I got like the best of both worlds, or all three worlds. So I got to see, my grandpa, for instance, who lives in California. He's the president, or was the president, of the NAACP for the Altadena, California branch. So when most 5-year-olds were, at, I don't know, playing with auntie and them, I was at NAACP conventions, and so I got to see a lot of things, and I think that's what shaped my personality. A lot of people tell me I act older than what I am, and I think that's where a lot of it comes from. I also got a side from my stepdad, who's a country boy, okay, country to the bottom, okay, and so I got to get a little bit of, I guess, humility from that. So I got a mixture of the city life and the country life, and that kind of shaped my personality. And so right before going to Clark, Atlanta University in 2014, I just graduated last year. Right before that, my parents moved to Houston, Texas, and so that's where my family is now. So I'm so used to traveling and going different places and living different places, and so I guess that really kind of shaped my personality in loving to travel and having a deep appreciation for travel, and just allowing my experiences to shape who I am as an artist. So.
Yeah, I see you brought up your grandfather. Tell us about that experience. Go deeper with the NAACP.
Okay, so my grandfather, he is Jalal Sudan. I feel like he's one of the most influential people in my life, mainly because of his I don't give a damn attitude. He does, but he has this type of vocalness about him that allows him to kind of really speak his mind without feeling like he has to just hold back. And so he was the NAACP president for about, I'll say about 10 years. My grandmother was the secretary. So when I was young, I would go and I would be able to go to the conferences. Actually, I was one of the ones that kind of stuck with me was when Obama was elected for president. They had a big conference. He was there, and it was in New York. And so that was something that was major for me. At a young age, I didn't realize how important that was. I didn't realize how, I guess, historical that would be. But it really just kind of, looking back, I guess, okay, in retrospect, it made me appreciate experiences, right? And so they had a program called AXO, right? And AXO it's a long acronym, but it's pretty much an organization for arts. And so you have musicians, you have poets, you have scientists, young scientists, right? And they're in this program, right? And they have a group of mentors who help them kind of push their art out there and get them exposed to another side of life. And so although I was too young to be in AXO, I got to see that. And that was like really the first time that I really experienced poetry. And I didn't realize that when I finally wrote a poem, that it was a poem. I thought it was a rap. Actually, it was a rap. But that experience, those little experiences, going to those conferences, seeing my grandpa speak about all the things that he speaks about civil rights, about human rights, and all these different types of things. It really shaped who I was. Not only that, my grandparents are Muslim, so I got to see that side of life. I got to see the Christian side of life, the non-traditional side of life. And so that really just pretty much made me who I am and who I'm gonna be. So yeah.
So out of all of the different religions and different non-traditional things, what do you see that's a common thread between all of them?
I would say the common thread, and this reminds me of something that my grandpa said. So he was talking to this pastor, and the pastor said something to him. He said, God is the most, what did he say? I can't even think of exactly, but it'll come back to me. But pretty much, God is this continual force that exists within everything. I feel like we put titles on things so we think that they're separate. But at the end of the day, it's all it is energy. Mm-hmm. You know, all it is this infinite energy that exists within everything, within our limbs, within the grass, within the air, and all of these different types of things. I feel like religion was a way to kind of organize that structure. And then it became a thing where it went from organizing to pretty much dominating things, right? And so I can go into a whole spill about religion and those different types of things, but that's a common thread, that it's just the energy that exists within everything, and you are the energy that you put out.
Mm-hmm. So you say when you saw the portrait, you started writing based on what you saw at the NAACP, right?
Right. So we were in where were we at? Detroit, Michigan. And I remember there were a group of AXO students. They were listening to a song by Erykah Badu called The Other Side of the Game. And I could not stop listening to that song. Like, that was my jam from then on out. And there was a guy who did a poem to that piece, right? Mm-hmm. And so I was like, what is this? What is he talking about? But I felt that in my spirit. I'm like, oh, please, I could do this. I could kill him, whatever. Right. And I'm like, 5, 6 years old? And so one day I wrote, I guess it was a poem in my mind, but it was actually a rap. So I put it behind a beat, and I'm rapping and I'm flowing and I'm doing my thing or whatever. But I realized the cadence that I did it didn't sound like a rap necessarily. Like, mm-hmm. It was more poetic, right? And so that's kind of where it all began. So you started writing about 5, 6? So I actually wrote my first piece, official piece, at 7. Okay. Do you remember what it was about? I do not. Wait, do I? I have all my notebooks, so if I had it, y'all would probably laugh at it. But it was more so a rap, and I swore I was like Missy Elliott or somebody, but that's another story. But yeah, I still have that piece, and I wrote it when I was 7. It's funny how basically everybody I talk to doing these interviews, it's funny how poetry finds you. Yeah, right? It does. I didn't necessarily have to go and search for, like, what is it that I'm supposed to be doing. Now, there was a point in life where I felt like I was running from poetry, because I'm like, could this be a lucrative thing? Could it be something that I can make a living off of? And that's the thing, it can be. But I was surrounded around so many people who were doing it pretty much as a hobby, or if they were making a living out of it, it didn't seem strategic to me, you know. And so I grew up in a household full of entrepreneurs, and so that was my reality. I got to see that side of life. Yes, my parents worked at one point, but growing up, for the most part, I never had to see them kind of clock in, clock out. It was always a thing where if I left something as simple as my musical mouthpiece at the house, I could call my mom up and be like, "Mama, come get me." And it's not like, "Oh, I got to clock out." It's more so, "Okay, here I come," type deal. And so I got to see that side of life, and I'm like, how can I add this element into poetry? How can I make this something that can, I guess, have some type of longevity, you know? And so I feel like that's where I'm at in my path right now, and I have some amazing ideas that I won't really share on camera.
Most definitely.
Y'all will be seeing some things, I would say, in the next year, honestly. So I'm excited.
Tell us about your parents. Tell us about how you was raised, and
okay.
And tell us about how you was raised, but more so tell us about your parents and the influences they had on you also.
Okay. So my mom, she's from LA, right? My dad, he died when I was in college. So my freshman year of college, I lost my biological dad, right? But my stepdad was really like the father figure in my life, if you will, okay? And so I really appreciate everything that, you know, he has implanted in me. He's originally from Arkansas, right? But he was stationed in I forget where in California, but he was in California while he was in the military. Him and my mom met out there, and it's kind of just been flowing from there. So yeah, like I said, they were entrepreneurs. They started off with this restaurant when we moved to Pine Bluff, in this place called Pot Liquor. We used to live in a place called Pot Liquor, and it looks just like it sounds, okay? It was tore up, but it wasn't that bad when we moved there. Now it's a whole nother story. But they had a restaurant called Eugene's, and I remember talking to my parents about, how did y'all get it, I guess, started or involved in, you know, just being entrepreneurs and really making a full-time living off it. It's not kind of like a check-to-check kind of thing, but actually thriving in this or whatever. And it all starts with strategy. It really does. So my grandparents owned a restaurant. And my grandpa worked for the city of Los Angeles or whatever, but he still had his little entrepreneurial thing on the side. So my mom got to see that aspect. Her brother, who's my Uncle Derek, owns a chain of fish restaurants in LA, right? And so that was their start. Now, my mom's no chef, but she loves to cook, right? And so that would be the thing that I would see them doing. So one day, long story short, my stepdad wanted to start a tow company. Everybody thought, "Oh, please, you ain't gonna start this tow company, whatever. You don't even know how to tow a truck." Now, truth be told, he did not know how to tow a truck, right? And so he was learning as he went. So he got all the licensing and all that. He got a truck. He did not know. He literally was figuring it out on the job or whatever. And from there, it kind of grew and grew and grew. And so that's kind of like my reality. I grew up with a bunch of siblings. So I have 2 brothers on my dad's side. I have my parents, my stepdad and my mom have 5 kids. So it's me, Brianna, Cameron, Kyla, and Jason. And we grew up, technically, in Pine Bluff, Arkansas. And we were around a lot of people. So my household was like one of those, we lived in one of those houses where everybody came over, right? And so Pine Bluff, if anybody knows anything about Pine Bluff, especially now, there ain't shit there, right? And so we were like the amusement park house, okay? We were like the house that everybody came to because there was nothing to do. So we had, you know, go-karts and dirt bikes. We had paintball. We had a pool. We had pool house. We had a library. I mean, it was really like a house that was like multi-purpose or whatever. And me being able to see that growing up and being able to like see, I guess, the juxtaposition between the people who had it, quote unquote, and I'm putting a quote around it because that's a whole nother story, and the people who didn't. All of Pine Bluff pretty much was the hood, right? So who was all at the house? All the hood kids, right? And so people say, well, growing up, I remember people saying, Sabreen, why don't you act like this? You know, you live here, or your parents have this. Why don't you act like X, Y, and Z? And I think people get that misconception that just, you know, just because of where you live or what you have to act a certain type of way. When we was just some niggas who ended up having some, you know, going another route. So I remember there was a kid, my parents had a football team, right? And I remember there was a kid who said, Miss Nisa, y'all live in a white folks neighborhood. She said, we don't live in a white folks neighborhood. We just live in any other neighborhood. And he said, I got to be a rapper to do this. And she was like, no, we own a tow company, okay?
Mm-hmm.
And we live over here. And so I guess that was the type of mindset that I was put in as a child, knowing that it doesn't matter what you do. If you do it well and you strategize it, you can go anywhere with it. You can do anything with it. And so I think I appreciate my upbringing so much, because I got to see when my parents were struggling. I got to see when they weren't. I got to go to the bank when my mama was putting in thousands. I got to go to the bank when she was putting in $100. You know what I mean? When it was that kind of balance. So being able to see that, I guess, kind of humbled me, number one. Number two, made me realize that you can have all of this. This is the lifestyle that you you know, are used to. You can have this, but it takes hard work, because my parents, if they weren't anything else, they were hard workers. So they are hard workers. And so that's my upbringing, you know.
When you said quote unquote had it, but you said that's a whole nother story, break that down, because it seemed like it was more to it behind what you just said.
Because people, it's just like with social media nowadays. People see something and they think it's all gravy, right?
Mm-hmm.
So they thinking because, okay, we live in this house, or you're able to drive this car, whatever the case is, that you got it. But one thing my mom always talks to me about is that, you know, we love to shop, right? And we love to thrift. She was like, I see more Bentleys and Beamers at the Salvation Army and more Honda Accords with 3 hubcaps and you know, the bumper hanging off at the Woodland Mall. You know what I mean? And that's a statement for me to say that, you know, just because it looks like you have it doesn't mean that you always have it, right? And we, especially nowadays, we tend to put it out there like, oh, look at me, I'm doing this, I'm doing that. So they think, oh, this person has money, or oh, this person has this, or oh, because this person lives at a certain place, that means that they don't struggle.
Mm-hmm.
And that's not true. And so growing up, I had a lot of friends who thought that, you know, and I didn't mind it, you know, we go out or whatever, you know, we pay, do things like that. But whenever I said I didn't have it, it was almost like a what, you don't have it type of thing. And even now, a recent graduate who's figuring life out, oh, Sabreen got it, you know, because of what I drive. Mind you, it's a used car. Every car that we've had has been a used car, but people don't think like that, right? So if you want to do something that you've never done, you gotta, or you want to have something you never had, you got to do something that you've never done, right? Mm-hmm. But everybody's so busy trying to keep up with the Joneses. So that's what I mean by that quote unquote thing. They thought that, oh, y'all don't struggle. Y'all know we probably struggle more than everybody here, but it's a different type of outlook. Our struggle is on a different type of level, right? And so yeah, everybody has struggles. Everybody goes through things, and just because it looks like, you know, something is what it is, doesn't mean that it is that, right? Mm-hmm. So hey.
And another thing you said, when you said act, mm-hmm. you know, that's something I've been paying attention to more. Remember when I was at the show last time, I said people act if you're not acting a certain way.
Oh yeah, I remember. That, you know, stuck with me.
Yeah.
That stuck with me. So
because I analyze people. I really try to analyze what people say, what people do, to see why they do it or mm-hmm. why they think the way they think. Mm-hmm. And when you just said that they said you act, why you don't act like this? Mm-hmm. You know what I mean?
Right.
Why are we acting?
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
Exactly. Why do I have to act a certain way? Like, for instance, like I was talking about with cars, that's something frivolous, okay? Mm-hmm. For instance, I remember my first car was a Volkswagen Beetle, and it was a little convertible. It was used. Mm-hmm. My stepdad got that car from an auction for like a couple $1,000s or whatever, and I rode that thing till the wheels fell off or whatever. But they didn't know all the work that had to go into the car. The best car that I've had was probably this Chevy Malibu that I had, and I literally had to wire hanger the bumper on, glue the mirror on, but nobody, you know, ever thought about those types of things. And then I got a BMW. Mind you, all of those cars were paid for. None of them had a car note. So they think that, oh, you got this, you could you could pay this BMW car note that you can, I don't know, you got money, or you can handle this. And it's not the case. I don't have a car note, but I do have to put premium gas in the car, and that costs. But really, those little things, my mom thought, for instance, that my stepdad shouldn't have got me the car. She's like, why you get that girl a car? She knew what it took to maintain that. And that goes back into life, how it's anybody can get something, but it takes a special type of person to maintain and sustain it, right? So anybody can get any type of car they want, a house, a phone, whatever. Those are frivolous things, not houses, but those are frivolous things. The cars, the clothes, all of that stuff, that's frivolous. That's stuff that, will perish on, you know what I mean? But anybody can get it, but it takes a special type of person to, maintain those types of things or whatever. And so I guess I just grew up with the mindset that if you want more, you got to make some sacrifices, you know what I mean? You have to make some sacrifices. So for instance, as small as it may seem, I don't get my nails done like that anymore, right? Because that's money that I could invest into building my brand, into building my business, and this idea that I have on my mind, versus just it being an idea. I'm actively working towards it. So what am I doing? I'm sacrificing certain things to get to that level, and I don't have to act a certain way. I don't have to act like I'm better than nobody. I don't have to act like I'm bigger than nobody, because I'm not. I'm not at all, and I'm starting literally from the bottom up, right? And everybody has. My parents did, my grandparents did, my uncles did. Hell, my uncle was on crack before he, had, his chain of restaurants and stuff like that. And he was able to drive what he drives and lives where he lives, right? My parents, they struggled, literally brought it from the ground up, right? Before they got to where they had got. But nobody sees those little stepping stones. So, I don't know. I appreciate that growing up, knowing that, you don't have to act a certain way, quote unquote, to be a certain person, right? Just be you. Just be real. I think that's the best person to be, the real you, right? So.
Yeah. It's funny. I mean, the acting and the different things we're talking about, I believe a lot of times people don't know how to be themselves because they've been just chasing money and chasing nothingness.
Yeah.
Competing with each other for about nothingness. We compete for cars. We compete with clothes. We compete with jewelry. We compete with my girl look better than yours, or I slept with more women than you. And if you're a woman, I got this bag, or you got this bag. Just stupid stuff.
I think that it's important that we just kind
of... let me kind of say one thing. I'm not saying all women. I'm not saying all men.
Yeah, no, I feel you.
Because you got to say that to them, because they'd be like, I ain't like that. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah,
so, it's not everybody, but when you think about it on a large scale, people think like that or whatever. And I feel like when you get those superficial things out your mind, it allows for you to grow. You realize, okay, I might be here right now, but I could be here tomorrow or whatever. But the only way that you'll get there is quit trying to act like you have it and actually have it. I remember telling my little brother, I was like, Jason, I don't want to look like I got it. I want to actually have it, right? So when I get to the level that I want to be at, or even beyond that or whatever, I want to actually have it. I don't want to look like it because of the shoes I wear, the car I drive. Now, this is one thing about me though. Minus today, well, I wouldn't even say minus today. I'm just looking plain, but I don't think anybody's ever seen me just looking toe back, just toe up to the flow up. You don't have to spend a lot of money to look nice or whatever. I think this world really got us twisted. Like this social media, this keeping up with the Joneses while we scratching and surviving like the Evans thing got us kind of twisted. You know what I mean? I feel like we got to really change our paradigm of thinking if we want to get to where we want to get at in life or whatever. And that starts at being frugal. Be frugal for a little while. Imagine where it'll take you. You know what I mean? I saw a post of, I think it was like Bill Gates or somebody, right? And it said, and it was like and it's sad that they had to use us as these type of people because they're white people who struggle as well. But it was a picture of a black guy with $10,000 worth of jewelry and clothes and all this stuff, and then it had like a Bill Gates or somebody with like a $5 polo, some $10 pants, and so forth and so on. And it was like, you know, this person is worth like $1 billion, and this person has no assets, you know, but they got $10,000 worth of, you know, clothes and jewelry on. You know, I don't want to look like I have it. I don't want to look like it's all together. I want to actually have it together, right?
Most definitely. I feel like my thought process is, if we not all eating, we not eating.
That part.
You know what I mean?
That
so
part.
if I look like I got money, and my thought process is like, none of us really eating yet.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's just the truth. I don't care who. You know, we might got a Jay-Z, we might got a Oprah, we might got a Dr. Dre, we might have a Kathy Hughes, you know, but for the most part, if we ain't all eating, we ain't eating.
That's right.
You know what I mean?
Definitely.
And the other thing is this, is like, from my thought process, is like, you know, like I try to teach my kids this, is like, and I had to grow into this. You can look like you got money. You know what I mean? You can pull up in a nice car. You can pull up you can have the latest clothes, the latest jewelry. But the most important thing to make you, if you want to try to be better than people and compete with your thought process. You know what I mean? Compete with your purpose. Those are things you need to compete with. But you know, you said, like, to me, when what you said earlier, you said you said it on film. You said you're not dressed the way you normally dress, or something like that.
Yeah.
But the thing is, your intellect shines so bright that it don't make a difference what the fuck you got on, because your intellect make you look like you're a fly motherfucker, because your thought process. And that's what a lot of times people need to realize, is like, yeah, you can be fly, but when you get out that car, what about your thought process? Yeah, you can be fly, but you know, a woman can be attractive visually, but when we start talking, what's up with your thought process? Because all that, the way you look, the way you dress, whether you're a man or a woman, your physique, all that shit goes away. When at the end of the day, all you got is what's inside your mind. And can that light shine brighter than the superficial, materialistic things you have on? And for me, myself, I'm not gonna lie, it took me a long time to learn that. And the thing is, it's like, it's almost like I had to teach myself that. You know what I mean? Because the thing is, when you in this rat race, or you in the city, you know, different things are hold to a different standard. You know what I mean? Like, I had a Mercedes when I was young. I had diamonds in my mouth when I was young. I had all type of jewelry and stuff like that. And it's nothingness. You know, it's nothingness. I mean, you can't get the niggas. You know what I mean? I don't want to be king of the niggas. I want to be king of the world. Like we supposed to be.
That part.
You know what I mean?
That part.
You know what I mean?
I remember the song by T.I., If It Ain't About the Money. It's a line in there that I was listening to the song the other day. It's a line in there. I forget exactly what he said, but he was saying something about, you know, people out here, you know, pretty much fronting like they got it going on or whatever. But there's somebody out here who'll make that thing that you think is something look like nothing. So, you know, stop playing with it, you know, because there's people out here who really got it, who really have it out here. So don't, you know, try to fake the funk to blend in. That's why I say I don't want to look like I got it going on. I want to actually have it going on. And the only way to do that is to strategize right now. Be frugal a little bit. You know what I mean? Sacrifice a little bit so that you can get to where you want to get. You know what I mean? But I think now, especially nowadays, it's so hard to sacrifice because, you know, we live in the age of image-driven things, right? So everything is about image. Everything is about what it looks like. You know, it doesn't matter if it's real or not, as long as it looks real, right? So when, you know, we pull up and we have on our little cute little outfits and stuff, and we're going home crying because we don't know how we gonna eat or how we gonna pay our bills and stuff like that. Those are the types of things that we need to think about. Well, was that dress that was $500 really worth it, or could I have taken 100 of it, bought, or 200 of it, bought some groceries, pocketed that other 300 so that I can invest it into something, or I can do something with it later on, so that when a rainy day comes, which it will come, you know, rainy days come for everybody, you know what I mean? But the difference is the planning. Different people plan different ways, you know what I mean? And the reason the poor stay poor is because they try to live like they're rich. And the reason the rich stay rich is, yes, they go out and they buy their things because they got it, right? But they're not, most of the things that they have, usually, in many cases, are assets. You know what I mean? Things that appreciate in value, artwork, houses, different things, proper land, all of that different type of stuff. You know what I mean?
Most definitely.
So,
I think a lot of times they also use our people against us to perpetuate that.
Definitely.
They use us in a they use, like, when you look at, I love hip hop, right?
Yeah.
But the thing is, when you get, as you really start seeing through the matrix more clear, you realize they use us against us to entrap us.
Exactly. And then what they'll do is take the image of us and then make a profit off of it, right?
Right.
So, we'll have a group of people, right? Like us, black people, who feel like, such and such John Doe down the street, got this. So that means I need to compete with John Doe to make it seem like I got what John Doe has. There's levels to this. Everybody's not supposed to be at the top. Everybody's not. I mean, how can everybody be at the top? The top, the image or the idea of what the top is supposed to be. You know what I mean? There's tops for everybody. This may be one person's top, and that's where they're going. They are content with that, but everybody wants to reach this pinnacle that they think, oh, this is the house I have to live in, this is the car that I got to drive. Everybody's top isn't there, and if we would adjust what our tops are, life will be so much simpler. You know what I mean? Because everybody's not supposed to drive a Bentley. They don't manufacture enough Bentleys for everybody to drive.
Most definitely.
You know what I mean? Everybody's not supposed to live in a 2-story house. Be content with your 1-story house. If that's where you want, if that's what, your level of comfortability is, or your level of top, top notchness is, let that be that, and be content with that. You know what I mean? But our problem is we're so busy trying to get to this level. Okay, and then we get to that level, then what? You know what I mean? We're lonely.
I think our biggest problem is how can I put this? I was just breaking this down to, like, by hood standards, I've been in shit since I was young.
Yeah.
Like this poetry stuff, it's cool, but I already know how I feel to be the man, right? Yeah. And when I'd rather be around people, I'd rather have these type of conversations than you the man conversation. You know what I mean? Because you the man conversation, when you dealing with stuff like that, is fake.
It is.
Like when you want to fuck with me because I'm driving something that you like, or I'm wearing something you like, that's phony. If I lose it, I lose y'all. Like give example, like them earrings you have when they beautiful. How much they cost, if you remember?
$1.
All right, now listen, they cost $1, right? But if Nicki Minaj says these cost $300, most people watching this video will go out and get those because Nicki Minaj says they cost $300. Right. Because they go back to that entrapment that I was talking about earlier, and also go back to that level you was talking about of we trying to reach the level that we don't have the money to do that yet. Yeah. You know what I mean? So when we start competing against each other and compete against the world, that's when we win. Yeah. I used to tell my homeboys when we used to go to the club, they'd be like, yo, let's go get VIP, da 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 da. I'm like, yo, I don't want to be in VIP, I want to own the club, bro. Like, you know what I mean? Like, fuck being in the club. I want to own that bitch.
Right, and it's not to say don't enjoy life. It's not to say, don't, spend recklessly every now and again, because you gotta live at some point. You can't just be existing all your life. You know what I mean? You have to have a point where you live and you just say, you know what, to hell with this. I'm gonna actually go out and I'm gonna, do something that I probably shouldn't do, but hey, I'm gonna have fun with life. But doing that on a daily basis, on a regular, that'll keep you where you at. You know what I mean? That'll keep you in those corners crying like, how I'm gonna eat tonight, how I'm gonna pay this bill, how I'm gonna do X, Y, and Z. You know what I mean? So I feel like it's just a balance of it. You just gotta have some type of balance. And everybody isn't gonna be able to own everything, but if you don't own anything, then that's a problem.
It is a problem.
You know what I mean?